Can I start you gentlemen with something to drink?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, I'm good with just water.
You sure? The bar is everything.
Oh, no, thanks. No, I don't drink.
Do you mind if we drink?
No, of course not.
I almost started to tear
Oh,
up.
my God. I crap my pants.
Yeah, man. I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, what am I going to do here? I'll have a double bourbon into Burners.
I have a giant glass boot filled with beer.
I'm sorry. We don't have that.
Well, then your bar doesn't have everything.
Daddy's here, and Daddy is going to take care of you.
Please don't refer to yourself as our daddy.
I am your big daddy, and I am going to kiss the boo-boo. Are you all afraid?
No.
Daddy's here for you, my widow angels.
I don't know what you did or didn't do, but I do know that I can't know what you know or you don't know. You know?
I know.
Okay.
I know what you're feeling, and it's fear, but not fear of failure, fear of opportunity.
This is the real thing. This is the necessary art of our time. This needs respect.
I see you exhaling, sir. We're going to be with you in just a moment. You've got to be patient, okay? We're very, very sorry. Our apology. We apologize to you. You will not have to wait that much longer at all.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Wednesday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
We're getting medium play on 3 independent radio stations in Central Europe.
My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host.
I'm a professional. Look it up in the book.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio perched high above the mighty Columbia, where it is raining on June 18th.
Didn't know you like to get wet, though.
I mean, come on. That's rude.
Rude.
I guess we do, you can always use the rain. That's what they tell us anyway. I don't know if that's just big rain trying to mind control us. But if you live in the Pacific Northwest, even though it rains a lot, you're also reminded, well, we need the rain. We always need the rain out here, apparently. You know what people really need? They need episode 4,491 in a collector's series of TBTL.
Let the fun begin.
And that is what we are going to bring you today. Now, I'm in a little bit of a tight time crunch today recording the show because when we are done, I'm going to jump in my car and I'm going to speed north to Seattle, where I'm going to sit down and interview Bill Shatner.
Spock, sabotage the system.
And here's how I'll put it. I would not say this is the most confident I've ever been going into an interview, so we will probably talk about that. Also, carried over from yesterday, the topic of condiments and the condiments that need to be put in the refrigerator and those that are okay not in the refrigerator.
Your refrigerator.
So we'll try to get to that as well. We'll definitely get to this guy. He is the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. Also, though...
Believe it or not, I'm a complete catch.
Sure is. He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. I'm discombobulated. I don't know what's happened. We did a sound check, and all of the drops were great levels, and now they were all too loud. And I apologize.
Oh.
I'm hoping in post it'll all smash out. It's one of those things. When I'm at this stage of the show, I'm coming in hot, obviously.
Yeah.
When I'm at this stage of the show, everything sounds wrong to me, and I'm always like, I can't get these levels right. I always have this internal...
Sounds like a stress dream.
It is almost like that at the beginning of every show, and then we get to the end of the show, I do a little compression on the file, I do this, I do that, I zing, I zang.
Yeah.
And then I've never gone back. I mean, it's very rare. I shouldn't say never, but it's very rare that I go back, even immediately after the show, and think, God, those levels are all out of whack. So I'm assuming it's all going to come out in the wash, but in case it doesn't, I think I need to get that off my chest. I do feel like I'm living in a stress dream right now.
I had a stress dream the other day, and I think it involved our friend Leanie and the comedian Hari Kondabolu.
Uh-huh.
And the dream was, for some reason, Hari Kondabolu and I were like in a car together that Hari was driving, and we were going to...
I apologize profusely.
You look like a dream catcher came to life.
We do have protocol around here,
yes,
Luke.
Yes.
We cannot go into dream talk without this. Go ahead.
Honestly, it would be an insult to me as the person
That's
retelling a dream
right.
that no one wants to hear about.
I didn't want to
if we did it,
disrespect you.
follow the steps.
Sure,
There's
okay.
There's a laminated list of things that have to happen on the show if one of us is talking about our dreams.
Don't make me tap the sign again,
Yes.
as they say.
So it was just that Hari and I were, for some reason, it was like he was sort of my guide or something in that he was driving. I was riding along with him, and the plan was we were supposed to go to a certain, like, I don't know if it was a comedy or music festival, but it was one where I was going to be hosting it, like, or something. I was going to be like the person going out and maybe introducing the acts or something. Also, somehow weirdly in this dream, I was going to sing a song at this thing, this festival. But instead, we could not find our way to that festival. Instead, we went to this other different festival where, and the whole time I was thinking, I'm like looking at my watch and I'm thinking, okay, the other festival is starting at any moment and I don't know how to get to the other festival and they're going to be like looking for me. But then somehow I was at the wrong festival where our friend Leanie was one of the musicians, our friend Prom Queen. And so then they asked me to go up and introduce a series of acts, including Celine. And I was like, well, okay, I know Celine, so this will be pretty easy. But the whole time I was super stressed out because there was a different festival, comedy music festival somewhere else that I was supposed to be hosting that I could not get to. And Hari was like zero help. He just kept saying, yeah, traffic or something.
Ugh, that guy.
And then I woke up. That's the power out on that one.
Well, I also...
You look like a dream catcher came to life.
I love we're getting the whole life's rich pageantry, life's rich pageant of different dream themes here on the show today.
We're using all/both of them. I had a dream that I didn't remember until later on in the day. This was a couple of days ago. And don't worry, this is not a narrative arc. This is a short story. I was in the house, IRL, in real life, is what that means, post-dream. And I was looking around for something. I can't remember what it was, but it was something related to, like, it was an office supply I was looking for in real life. And I suddenly remembered that night I had a dream where I was obsessed with finding a mini stapler, Luke. That's it. There was nothing else. I wasn't going to a festival. I wasn't getting kicked out of a festival. I wasn't introducing anybody. I love it when I'm going about my day and I'm not thinking about dreams at all. And then something reminds me of a dream that I had woken up from a day or 2 days earlier. And I'm like, damn, did I ever find that mini stapler? It had to be a mini stapler, Luke. It had to fit in my pocket for some reason. Reasons I still don't understand. I needed a mini stapler. Yeah, I think I had one as a kid. They're like tiny. You know, they're like real tiny.
But did they use regular size staples?
No, they use mini staples, Luke.
So there's a whole shadow industry of mini staples being made for mini staplers.
There was at one time. I don't know if you know this, but the internet changed everything. And so we do live in a more, I wouldn't say a paperless society, but a society that has less paper than it did when I was growing up. I mean, that was the thing about being a kid in our generation is school supplies were like often office supplies as well, right? Like you had you could get your Trapper Keeper and the stuff that was made specifically for kids, but you also just had to have practical things like a stapler, which is why I still have like this Soviet bloc era metal industrial stapler in here that I had since I was a kid.
I like yours. That thing.
Well, yours
serious.
looks more beautiful. Yours is more. Is that more recreation?
I'm sure it was. I think it's actually made by the Staples Company, which is, I guess, would make sense. But you know what I've got inside is a fancy Japanese handheld stapler that's like this.
Yeah.
It's like a grip.
Yes.
And
it doesn't. It's not like made to sit on a desktop the way the ones.
No, you hold it in your hand, like and then you just. But of course, I bought it in a one of my normal kind of moments of, I don't know, just thinking, oh, that's a really good way to staple. That's a cool-looking object. And have I ever used it, Andrew? I don't think so. I mean, I don't do that much stapling in my regular life anymore, it turns out. Like, I don't need two different staplers
Yeah,
in my
and you're
household.
somebody who actually does lean into the printing lifestyle. I mean, that was a big trope on the show for a long time. That I had a question for you. Oh, yes. I feel like I either know this about you because you've told me this before or because it just fits in with how I picture you as a young man or a young person, maybe even in boyhood. But were you a kid who had one of those springy grip things that you would like sort of squeeze in your hand to build your grip muscles?
Buff?
Yeah, to get buff. I could sort of see you thinking like, this is my key to like being a tough guy.
I think, first of all, it turns out that we have spent enough time. We've done our 10,000 hours, Andrew, so that you do have a very, very good sense of the kind of kid I was.
Yes.
I could absolutely have seen myself getting into that. I don't think I had access to one of those. I think I was the kind of kid, though, like if I was in Peter Williams's basement and maybe his mom, Diane, had like something like that from some sort of a Jane Fonda-esque kind of workout phase that many, sort of housewives and the like were going through in the 80s, I would have absolutely picked it up and I would have absolutely, tried it out. But I do remember a thing where I had some kind of a ball, like it was just like a rubber ball of some kind. But I remember somewhere reading about like if you squeeze this 1,000 times a day, it will help your grip strength. And I do remember doing that, not the device that you described, but something else. And I was always, even in those days, thinking I was talking with my family over the weekend about Green Lake, which is like near where I grew up, and all the cool stuff there, and the fact that there's that area of Green Lake that has the kind of those big bleachers, those big concrete
actually
bleachers.
right on the lake there, yeah.
And that used to be the Aqua Follies. They used to have these, like, you used to buy tickets and go to the show, and there'd be like people doing dives and doing all kinds of, water-related cool tricks. But what I remember about that place was that was where Peter and I decided to form our Buff Club.
Oh.
Which was we probably combined, I would say maybe in 9th grade, combined, we might have weighed 160 pounds. And we decided this summer we're going to get ripped.
Yeah,
and
like
so
in the back of a comic book. Like you're not going to have sand
100%.
kicked on you anymore.
No more sand getting kicked in this guy's face.
Yeah.
And so we decided we called it the Buff Club, and I believe we did all the important things, like we set up a calendar, like we wrote out a calendar of what we were going to do every day, and it involved jogging over to those bleachers and then running those stairs, and I think doing some kinds of other push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups. I would say we jogged maybe halfway to the bleachers before just totally running out of gas, and then maybe did like 2 or 3 up and down the stairs, and that was the one and only meeting of the Buff Club that ever happened.
Oh, only one, the inaugural and final meeting of the Buff Club.
Yeah, that was it.
It sounds like the name of a novel, a John Irving novel, possibly. I feel like the hand grip strengthener thing, which was for people who can't picture, is very basic. It was just like literally like a one loop of a spring sort of that held it together, and that seemed like it would be up your alley because, like, it's not like. You talk about your family not having tons of resources during this time, so I could see you being like, well, I can't get the huge solo flex that my buddy has in his basement.
I wanted a solo flex so bad, dude.
I know you did, sweetie.
I wanted a bow flex. I would see those things on TV, and I would see those guys with just the traps for days.
Yes, I wanted a solo flex and a bow flex and have them fight each other is what I wanted.
Two flexes enter, one flex leaves.
While I ate popcorn. But I could see you sort of being like, I can't get that, but I can't, like one of these hand grip things would be within your range, or, you maybe you trade for it on the playground or something like that. And then
on
you're
the
kind of like,
web,
this is my
personality. Basement.
Yeah, this is my personality now. I'm the guy who's going to be able to grip a basketball or whatever. Luke, why would you not turn down your phone during a recording? I don't get that.
I did. This is not
sorry about that.
This is not grip strengthening, but I did try to make having a toothpick in my mouth my whole personality after I saw the movie Cobra starring Sylvester Stallone.
Oh yes, Cobra. Sure, I saw that.
John Cobretti, I believe, he's always got a toothpick in his mouth, or maybe he had a matchstick in his mouth.
I think it was a matchstick because I think he lights it in a dramatic fashion at one point.
Yeah, he blows that house up, right? Where it's like, I think maybe the stove is running or something, and the movie where he famously says, "You're the disease and I'm the cure."
And I always bring this up, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm remembering, because I feel like you don't remember this part, and I'm always confused as to whether it's from this movie or
I don't think I've even seen
one.
the movie, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
I just saw the poster with him with a match in his mouth, and I thought, God, that looks cool.
I do believe I saw it, and I believe a big part of it is he's sort of the head of some sort of a gang, or there's some sort of a gang maybe that he's fighting. It doesn't really matter.
I think he's the good guy, right?
Yeah, he's probably the good guy, but there's a bunch of people who are in some sort of underground gang, and what they do is they each have a baseball bat, I believe metal baseball bats in their hands, and they clank them together over their head when they all gather together and they're listening to a speech or something.
Wait, isn't that the Warriors?
I've never seen the Warriors, so there might be similar imagery in both. But
I'm trying to get to the trailer.
I feel like
for
this is
Cobra.
at least the third time we've had this conversation. It's
Probably
my fault.
so,
I always bring up these bats. You never remember them. And then we go on this Googling fest to see if I'm right or wrong.
I think of it as one of our greatest hits, Andrew.
Yes,
Don't think of it as repetition. Think of it as playing the hits for the listeners. Let's see what the Warner Brothers Pictures trailer for Cobra 1986.
I love it already.
Society is breeding a new kind of criminal. It's also breeding a new kind of cop. Meet Cobra. He does the job nobody wants.
Stallone is in a grocery store. He still has his aviators on, which I would say would make it harder to see. What I've noted is that when I have my sunglasses on indoors, yes, I look cool, but no, I can't see anything anymore because it's too dark for me. He's got the matchstick in his mouth. There's like a robbery of this grocery store going down, and I have a feeling he's about to ford it. Somebody is firing a shotgun, the bad guy, and Cobretti coolly picks up a Coors beer in the grocery store and starts drinking it as he's hiding out behind a cooler waiting to do his thing. That's how cool this guy is, Andrew. He's drunk on the job.
Does he have to pay for that beer later, or is he going to be a hero and they're going to say, you know what, don't even pay for the Coors Light?
We're about to find out. Okay. We're just at the point where he's drinking the Coors at 10 in the morning.
The plot of the movie is the store owner trying to get his dollar back for that beer.
And him being like, okay, I mean, I can pay for it. I kind of figured, it would be on the house or something.
Did you use unnecessary deadly force?
I used everything I had.
You know you haven't had it.
He's being interviewed by the police. We don't even see what he does to the guys in the grocery store, but he obviously kills all of them.
Yeah, sure.
Hepped up on Coors. Again, put that in the report.
Yeah, right.
Did the officer act appropriately? Well, I don't know. It started with him having a Coors.
Yeah.
Tall boy. So he's now being interviewed by the press. Now he's in what I'm going to assume is a meeting with his superiors where he's being told that his loose cannon ways have to stop.
Problem?
Yeah, but it's just a little one. You think you would recognize me if you saw me again?
The tall one?
Yeah. The one that wants to kill you.
He's interviewing a woman who obviously was a victim of a crime.
Yeah. And if I find him, do what you do best.
He just hurled a grenade at a 1950s car for some reason.
Good. Grenades. That's
absolutely.
In the 1980s, there was nothing that couldn't be solved by a grenade.
He's just a drunk cop lobbing grenades in downtown Los Angeles.
Right.
There's definitely a plot where, I think these bad guys, their move is they drive classic cars because he is destroying an entire car club's worth of classic
you hate
cars.
to see it.
Yeah, one of the grenades landed in one of them. Now he's firing some kind of a bump stock rifle at one of them and just absolutely maiming it.
Oh, yes. Stallone is Cobra. The strong arm of the law.
Oh, he better say it. If we go through this whole trailer, there's only 10 seconds left, and he doesn't say the line. Wow.
Really?
That's amazing. I feel like it's a missed opportunity.
And did you ever see the match in his mouth, matchstick?
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
we did get to see that. All right.
Yeah, that part checks out. He definitely was had a cool matchstick. There's another scene from the movie where he's the bad guys are in some sort of a house and he's cut I don't know if he did it or just happened accidentally, but the gas line is ruptured and he does the thing where he lights the match that he's had in his mouth, he throws it behind him and he just keeps walking away as this thing explodes and he doesn't even flinch.
No. That's the
cool
move
stuff.
there. If you can walk away from an explosion and not flinch, that's the thing. I feel like I'm having...
He's still in jail, by the way.
Yeah, he should be, honestly.
I mean, you want to talk about abuse of police discretion.
Oh, my God.
Between the drinking, the grenades, the blowing up of a house.
I'm trying to balance this with headlines that I saw in the newspaper today about the Seattle police want to what's the word? They want to encode, I guess, or encrypt their communications
Oh,
even
sure they
more.
do.
You know, the public communications that they use, like for dispatch or whatever, that you would listen to on a police scanner or whatever. They want to encode more of those. And then when they look for a specific reason why they need this for public safety, the only example the spokesperson pointed to was an example where the police during protests several years ago misused grossly misused. Do you remember this story? They planted a false story to go out over the scanner waves
to try to
about
catch
Antifa showing up at some sort of peaceful protest, and they ended up freaking out the people at the peaceful protest because they were monitoring the situation or whatever, and it caused a dangerous situation. And the whole thing was a ruse created by the cops.
Nice.
That they were later reprimanded on. And now in this news story years later about why we need to encrypt this stuff, they're, well, look what happened when we lied over the radio waves. So I enjoyed that Cobra clip. I can't enjoy anything anymore, and I'm still pissed off that there were no bats clanking in that. I think, once again, I am stuck trying to remember what movie I'm actually thinking of.
But you're not, because so the Warriors, there's a guy who clinks bottles, and there are people with bats in the Warriors.
It could be that, except I don't think I've ever seen the Warriors, Luke.
The Warriors, they're a heavy outfit. I will spare everyone, but we also do have. We used to play the Warriors trailer.
Yeah,
kind of
as
a lot on the
intro,
show
right?
for some reason. Let's see here. Let me just play. Let's see what this one does.
We know about the Warriors. They're a heavy outfit.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
That was it.
I thought you're.
Here's the Warriors trailer. Okay, this is only 38 seconds. Let's hear what the Warriors trailer.
These are the Warriors.
Yeah.
We know about the Warriors. They're a heavy outfit.
They're from Coney Island.
Warriors. You guys are the big dudes, huh?
Now they're in the Bronx.
We're going back.
27 miles behind enemy lines.
It's the only choice we got.
Between them and safety stand 20,000 cops and 100,000 sworn enemies.
I want them all. I want all the Warriors.
They've got one way out. They've got one chance. They've got one night.
And one of the gangs that they have to fight, I think that the gang's whole theme is they dress like the Yankees.
Really? So they're evil?
So they're bad, but maybe they're either the Mets or the Yankees. Basically, there's a baseball-themed gang.
I hope they're the Yankees. It would be sad if the Mets were depicted as the evil group. I have
feel
no
like the
problem
Mets can't catch a break.
I just sort of feel like if you have the Yankees right there and they are sort of the evil empire, some offense to our, Yankees fans, I guess. We don't have any on staff, do we?
Oh, no. No, you know what? And again, I love and admire our colleague, TBTL employee numero uno, John Sklaroff. But the other day I was commiserating about, the Mariners were playing very poorly at the time. And John he's very diplomatic. He's very nice about things because, the Yankees have, other than maybe the Dodgers, the Yankees have all of the players and they have all the payroll. And it just seems like things always break the Yankees' way. And he went, well, I don't trust it or whatever. He said something nice to kind of take the edge off. And then later I looked at the Yankees record and it's so good.
Yeah.
And I was mad at him in retrospect, which is totally unfair to John. But I was like, what must it be like to just have a team that is just willing to spend all of the money to get the players they need to be continually good?
And then there is, and again, now I'm talking about John behind his back, knowing full well that he will hear this. But there is this, and I do think you're right. It's a much better look than just being like, yeah, we kick ass. You guys suck.
The guy's very respectful about the fact that his baseball team is better than ours.
But I also do believe that it's all relative, kind of pain is relative. I remember being a young person and thinking that I was really profound and learning that happiness and misery is all sort of is kind of contextual and even I was trying to think of we didn't have this language or I didn't know this language back then, but you could talk about the most privileged person in the world, but if something bad happens to them, they feel a pain that's just as real as somebody who is less privileged who's also feeling pain. That's kind of all relative. I don't know if I stand by that necessarily today, but I do sort of feel like it applies to Yankees fans. I feel like John, the Yankees fan, is always ready to feel burned in some way. He's always we're just not going to be great this year. We're just
that's
not
every
be great
fan
this
base,
year.
though.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
what I mean.
And that's the psychology of being a fan. I think is even you talk about Patriots fans. They're we can't catch a break. It's You had like 7 Super Bowls or something. Like, it's insane how successful the Patriots were. But then you have one lousy season, or a series of lousy seasons, and Belichick leaves. And whatever happened to him, by the way? Has he been in the news?
Belichick, I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I think he's just living a very private life right now, renting Airbnbs.
Every fan base feels like, A, they cannot catch a break from the officials.
Oh, yeah, true.
And that they just are sort of always getting the fuzzy end of the lollipop, which is weird because it must, like you were kind of saying this, it must be something about human psychology. And probably, and as I relate so many things back to like natural selection and our kind of what has kept us alive, there's probably an evolutionary advantage to your brain prioritizing, like basically your brain remembering bad things much more strongly than it remembers good things, because that helps keep you safe. You know, now we're just applying it to like baseball, which means nothing. But it's like this idea that, like, you know, your team could win 3 World Series and then you have a lousy season, and then you're just like, you just feel like, we're on the schneid. We don't, our ownership is not willing to pay the money to get good players, et cetera. Like, that's just the perpetual feeling of most fan bases, even though it seems like when you look at it, or even if you listen to Rob Lowe, it seems like there are certain fan bases that are more put upon. By the way, the Baseball Furies is the name of the gang in the Warriors.
Okay. So
the Baseball Furies.
That makes more sense. Why tie it to a real team? Also, why pay to?
But they're in pinstripes.
Okay,
so they're very Yankees coded.
I see.
They're a fictional New York City gang in 1979. They're a group of real major leaguers who bring their A game to every rumble, packing bats and plenty of muscle. The Furies rep stretches through every network in NYC. I just love the idea that, like, you just have this tells you what a kind of wonderfully ludicrous movie The Warriors is. Like, one of the gangs they have to fight is just like they got outfits.
Yeah, I mean,
somebody went out and bought outfits.
The idea of a rumble, right? What was the S.E. Hinton book, the famous
the
Outsiders, right? Like, the rumbles were. I loved that book growing up, but also the idea. I mean, I think that maybe it helped me have the idea that I was going to be in a rumble someday, and I didn't feel ready to be in a rumble, and it turns out I never was in a rumble, and it's good because I was never ready to be in a rumble. But like, you're a kid and you're reading stuff like the same way you brought up the other day. You're like, I don't know, I thought there was going to be more quicksand in real life. Like, I think that I felt like rumbles were something that were going to be part of my life, and I did not like sort of look forward to that part of life.
I was never in a full-on rumble, but I was in some things that were sort of rumble adjacent. And this is the problem with a rumble. You're not mad when the rumble starts.
Yeah.
Because it's been like, okay, we'll meet you behind the school after school. Well, that's like, as Homer Simpson once said when there was a waiting period for him to buy a gun, but then I won't be mad anymore.
And I'm angry now.
Like, the idea of like establishing a time in the future when you're going to fight someone is just like, you're always regretful when the time comes because you're not mad. And now you have to go enact it. It did happen once. I decided there was going to be a rumble between me and a kid named Sam, and it was going to be after school. This is what got me kicked off of crossing guard duty.
Now, is it a rumble? Is there just 2 of you? Is it mano a mano? Is that a rumble, or is that just an after-school fight?
Well, there were multiple people. It was really a fight.
Okay.
It was really honestly like an ambush. Poor Sam.
No, I know this story. Yeah.
I kind of regret this. I don't feel good about it. But he and I were into it over something, and I was a crossing guard. But also the plan was I was going to fight Sam, and so I couldn't be at my crossing guard station. So I gave my crossing guard outfit to a girl named Terry Wilfong, and I said, "Can you just like do the crossing guard thing for the next 20 minutes? I've got to go be in a fight."
That's sort of cinematic. I could see that being in a Stallone thing. Like, here.
And she said,
hold my cop uniform. I got to go take care of something.
Yeah. She then, I got to go throw some grenades.
Yeah. Hold my grenade.
So then she like, obviously ratted me out because this got me kicked off of safety patrol, which I didn't care about that. But what it meant was I couldn't go to the fun forest at the end of the year. The reward for doing safety patrol was that there was a day at the end of the school year where all the safety patrol kids got to go to the amusement park on the Seattle Public Schools dime.
The fun forest.
Yeah, Seattle Center, like where the
still existed. That was still an operation. Oh, that's right. It was even operational. I think when I first got here in 2009, those rides were going. Yeah, that's right.
Flight to Mars.
The Gravitron.
Did,
not to this totally derails your story, but I like what they ended up doing with the Seattle Center, but when they were like debating like what should we do with this space, and they were going to get rid of that area, all those rides and everything, I thought it'd been really cool if they just leaned into it and like really like kind of spiffed them up, but kept the 1960s era like rides and everything. Wouldn't that be cool if that thing still existed?
Absolutely.
But it was like more of a almost like a space age sort of retro amusement park. There are not a lot of those.
That would have been so cool. That thing was, the Fun Forest was like, there used to be a thing called Kids Day in Seattle when I was a kid, which is separate from the Safety Patrol thing. There was a thing they established called Kids Day, which was like a day to celebrate being a kid. And there was some kind of a deal at Fun Forest on Kids Day. It was like a citywide, other people my age listen to this, get at me if you remember Kids Day. It was literally like the city of Seattle celebrates the idea of there being children in Seattle for one day. And I remember going to Fun Forest, and it was like unlimited rides on Kids Day or something. There was T-shirts.
I'm going to text Phyllis right now and find out if she remembers Kids Day.
If there is a person who will remember Kids Day, it's our friend P. Fletch. But like, so, but anyway, I because I got in this fight and because I shirked my duty. I mean, it was a pretty bad dereliction of duty, leaving and then giving the flag, the sacred crossing guard flag and helmet and vest to an untrained Terry Wilfong. I mean, that was John Cobretti levels
I feel like later on you have to hand
police
over
misconduct.
You have to hand over your vest and your, I don't know, what would be the other thing? Flashlight?
Yeah, right. So anyway, I got kicked off of crossing guard for that, which kind of sucked. But then I also got into this fight, and if I had it to do over again, I would not have gotten into this fight because it was so dumb. And now looking back on it, I think this kid Sam was a kid who was just trying to fit in, and he was a kind of a newer transfer to the school, and yes, he had been aggressive towards me, but it was because he was insecure, and it was not something where I should have like jumped him in an alley and then tried to fight him, because even when I'm in the alley with him, I'm not mad anymore.
Yeah.
But now I feel like there's this whole production of me being here to do this like outsiders-esque fight.
Yeah.
But then what happened that was crazy was I'm fighting him. The good news is the level of violence was very low. I was a scrawny kid. We were kind of, I don't know, probably just kind of mostly grappling and kind of spinning around or something.
This
but then
is
these older
pre-buff
kids,
club. This is pre-buff club, Luke.
Yes, this was. I mean, this would have happened after Buff Club, I would have been really worried for Sam. He would have been in a lot of danger. But what was crazy about it was we're fighting, and there's other kids are just kind of watching now, including kids he was walking home with. So it wasn't just like me and a gang versus Sam. It was kind of like two groups of kids. These older kids are driving by, so they were old enough to have their licenses, and they see me fighting with Sam, and they decide, and again, it's funny because I was such a shrimp at this time, they decided that me and my friends were the aggressors. By the way, they weren't totally wrong about that. But then the older kids grab a couple of my friends and pin them down on the ground. Now, the older kids, it was actually kind of a nice move for justice. The older kids saw the fight going, even though they sided with the other people, they weren't wrong.
Yeah.
Like the older kids came in and bullied us for bullying Sam.
Yeah.
And then I think the whole thing was kind of over after that.
Yeah, nobody got hurt.
Nobody got hurt.
I think I've probably told you this before, but I don't think violence ended up actually happening in this scenario, and this is not my story, and it's from a long time ago, so take it all with a grain of salt. Well, first of all, before I go into this story, Phyllis says, okay, two things come to mind regarding Kids Day.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, here we go.
TVTL breaking news.
All right, Pete Fletch has entered the discourse Kids Day.
It says, okay, she doesn't know she's on the record, by the way, but she'll find out later today. Okay, two things come to mind that I can't fully remember the name of, so I'll say yes. My first guess is that it was a YMCA thing that was started by Mayor Royer that was supposed to get kids interested in local government. Could that possibly be it? And I'm thinking that maybe there's another guess coming along as well.
I'm looking up. I mean, that timing would have made sense. Charlie Royer was the mayor when I was a kid, for a part of my childhood. So that part checks out. I just remember it being, like I said, more than just it felt maybe this was just maybe they made a big deal of it at Bagley Elementary School, but it seemed like it was a city-wide project that we looked forward to. We were like, it's good, and I feel like it was in April. Maybe it was like it's going to be Kids Day, and that's the one day that kids rule.
It sounds so 90s. So I'll just finish this very, very brief story. My friend was telling, he lived in a different city at this point. This is back in the 90s. We're in high school, and he found himself in some sort of a Rumble situation. I don't think the Rumble ended up happening, but the fun part happened, which is when everybody got excited for the Rumble. And I don't know the details of it, but I guess they came home from school. They're supposed to meet later that afternoon or evening. So now there's this period where everybody's like going home to grab whatever they want to bring to the Rumble. And my friend was a musician, so he was proud of what he had fashioned. He had taken I think it was a drum stand. It was either a drum stand or a mic stand, but I think it was a drum stand that sort of had kind of a hinge on it or something, so he thought it was a good battle weapon because it kind of hooked in a certain way that sounds very dangerous, and he was feeling very proud of that. Then he got in his van and then drove to pick up his friend who was going to rumble with him, Shane, I believe, and then he was bowled over, as it were, when he sees Shane come out of his house carrying nothing but a bowling pin, and he was like, that is such a good weapon.
These guys would have fit in great in the Warriors. There's another gang that's like an out-of-work jazz trio.
Yeah, right.
It's a guy just carrying a bow fiddle.
You have the musicians that have a bunch of music gear, and then you have the bowlers who come out and they have various bowling paraphernalia to bring to the Rumble. But yeah, I do think of bringing a bowling pin to a Rumble I don't want anybody to get hurt, but that's pretty classic.
No, that's hardcore. By the way, I put anyone remember Kids Day in Seattle in the 1980s? And I got something. There's a Facebook page called Early 80s Seattle Center Memories. So somebody must have done something with that. But I was scrolling the page, and it's far too many posts down for me to bore anyone with it. But if you have memories of Kids Day, hit me up because I want to make sure I didn't hallucinate that. Hey, Ken, how about this? Do we have some dazzling donors to thank today? We're getting towards the end of the list.
Yeah, we have some dazzling donors, I believe.
Okay, let's do that, and then I want to talk through this Shatner thing with you. I mean, legitimately. I'm kind of a little anxious today about this. I'm interviewing William Shatner and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I feel like both of them are sort of complicated interviews for different reasons. So maybe after the dazzling donors, you can help calm me and center me or whatever. Let's do that.
Or freak you out.
Oh, yeah, that's also door number 3.
Stay gold, pony boy.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man, razzle-dazzle.
On your mark. On your mark. Get set. Get set. Now ready. Ready. Go. Everybody razzle-dazzle.
All right, let's thank those dazzling donors. These are the people who are donating a dazzling amount of dough. It is the one and only way that TBTL can stay in business. It's 100% listener-supported podcasting. And we have to thank Sarah Hernandez, who's in Portland, Oregon.
Sarah.
What up, Sarah? Hello to my favorite dummies, and cheers to another year of telling people what my friends said and having only my wife know that I am talking about 2 disembodied voices that I do not know in real life, but listen to pretty much every day. I know you know this, Sarah, because you're a daily listener. You are absolutely allowed to refer to us as your friend. You do not need to clarify to anybody that we are doing a podcast, and we will back you on that story. If somebody, asks us if we're pulled over by the police and they say, are you friends with Sarah Hernandez of Portland, Oregon? We say, yes, absolutely.
People deny it. I go around telling people I'm friends with Sarah Hernandez. I say it at least once a day, and people are like, no, you're not.
She's asked you to say it less.
And then I always say, well, she wouldn't know me, but I know her.
Exactly. I became a 10 in my mid-20s back in the radio days, and I've just turned 40 for nearly half of my life through times amazing and nuts. What is this job, Andrew?
I know.
That we're spending nearly half of someone's life, somebody who's now 40, nearly half of their life has been spent listening to this. I don't know why that information is just absolutely shocking to me.
Sometimes it hits you.
TBTL has brought me joy, comfort, and a regular stream of drops that no one gets when I blurt them out. Their loss, says Sarah. I'm thrilled to donate at the dazzling level this year. If any 10s can donate for the first time this year at any amount, I highly recommend it. As a final note, and a chamber-worthy self-plug, if you're in Portland, are a musician, and don't mind hanging out with a middle-aged mom type, check out RavennaLux.com. This is Ravenna, RavennaLux.com. and send me a note if you'd like to join forces. My 40th year goal is to get back into music, and I'd love to embark on that journey with a fellow 10. No mountain too tall, friendo. So I'm getting eyes on this Ravenna Lux. Is this a band?
Yeah, it's a music project.
That Sarah's making.
Yeah, and so I don't know if we're allowed to do this or not, but I think it would be okay since Sarah's encouraging people to go to RavennaLux.com. I was listening to these new tracks that she posted recently, and they blew me away, Luke. So I was wondering, maybe we can go out with Annihilation, the first track.
Absolutely. Also, Sarah was in the Angry Orts.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that band. I think we used to even play that band on this show. So this is very cool. I did not realize this, Sarah, or I had not put it together. So, yeah, let's absolutely go out with some Ravenna Lux.
Yes, we'll do that at the end of the show.
And, Sarah, thank you so much for supporting TBTL. It really means a lot to us, and we truly couldn't do this without you. Thank you. Maestro.
Oh, hold on. I was getting Ravenna Lux ready for later, and now we have it here, Maestro.
On your mark. On your mark. Get set. Get set. Now ready. Ready. Go. Everybody razzle dazzle. Everybody.
It's Todd Tinker in Bainbridge Island, on Bainbridge Island, at Bainbridge Island. Todd says, longtime listener, first-time dazzler. This is my third donor message draft. In the first, I recommended a community event that has a fundraising aspect. That was fine when I wrote it, but by the time it would have aired, it would have exposed me to potential discipline from the Washington Supreme Court. That's the bad news. The good news is that while John was waiting for me to revise my message, I got to hear Andrew, when discussing Mina Kimes' career options, say words that could arguably be interpreted as including law among careers that are super, super brainy, which was fun and funny. I'm thinking Todd is a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too, yeah.
And maybe this is why Todd is concerned about promoting his favorite event, because maybe that would be, I don't know, something that could get him in trouble with his legal practice. I can't promote my favorite event, but I can promote myself. I was recently appointed to the King County Superior Court bench. Holy smokes, Todd. Here come the judge.
That's right. So now we understand why you need to have maybe a separation between.
Absolutely. Of Todd and State. But wait.
Is that a show title?
Also,
Todd,
Andrew,
you might have just made a show title.
This is big time. We've got a King County Superior Court judge essentially in our pocket, Andrew.
Don't get him in trouble, but you're right.
Sorry, Todd. All Todd did is donate hard-earned money to this podcast only to have me casually and in a cavalier manner throw around stuff like we've got him in our pocket. I'm just saying, if one of us has a case and it happens to get to the King County Superior Court level and we happen to get Judge Todd as our judge, I'm personally not going to complain.
And the thing is, nobody can accuse us of trying to influence Todd. We're not giving him money.
No,
he's giving us money. It's a reverse influence. It's a reverse bribe. And Todd knows all about them from law school, of course.
Exactly. I'm grateful every day for the privilege of serving the city and the county that I love. Seriously, Todd, thank you for doing this. I mean, it's just absolutely wild that at every level of public service, the work has been so politicized and so complicated and so in certain ways kind of vilified. So what I'm going to say is I don't know anything about Todd's judicial record or Todd's particular jurisprudence, but if Todd is a TBTL listener for all these years, he's got to be. Yeah, he's got to be on the right side of a lot of these things. So. He's got to be a good law-following, law-abiding legal interpreter. And I want to say thanks, Todd. Also, Todd said, I have to run for election in the year I'm appointed. So in my second message draft, I asked King County 10s to please look for my name on the ballot. But the period for filing to run for election in 2025 expired in May without anyone filing to challenge me. Consequently, I've been, quote, deemed elected and will not, in fact, appear on the ballot this year. I conclude that just the threat of a TBTL bump was sufficient to scare off any challengers. That'll happen, Todd.
It will.
You want to talk? This is Tammany Hall's got nothing on this political machine that is TBTL.
I got a bowling pin right here, and I'll bring it to Tammany Hall. Absolutely.
Call me the boss Tweety of King County Superior Court elections. Thanks, fellas. What you do is so important. Well, Todd, I think it's almost as important as being a judge in the King County Superior Court.
Right.
Almost as important as what you do. But thank you again for supporting TBTL. We really could not do this without you.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
So as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Andrew, I am going to be dashing out of here and heading up to Seattle, where I'm going to be interviewing William Shatner and Neil deGrasse Tyson today in advance of a show that they're doing at McCaw Hall. They have this kind of a, I don't know, two-man show about exploration that they're doing, which I think, first of all, it hasn't actually happened yet. Tonight is the first night that it will be occurring, but conveniently, we can only interview them before the show. So I don't really know what the show is about because I have not seen it. What would be more ideal is if I watched the show tonight and then interviewed them tomorrow about it. That does not seem to be possible from a scheduling standpoint.
And no way of getting an advance.
Yeah, there isn't like a DVD of it or something because it hasn't been like, they haven't been touring this around and I can kind of get a sense of what it is. I kind of have the sense that what it is William Shatner is very curious about space and spirituality and the cosmos, and Neil deGrasse Tyson knows a lot about that stuff. And so they get on stage, and I think William Shatner sort of proposes, he opens a bunch of different sort of hypothetical cans of worms, and then Neil deGrasse Tyson closes some of them and pours out the worms from some of the other ones, and they just have sort of a rolling conversation about a bunch of different stuff involving the universe. But again, that's an educated guess as to what we're going to even be talking about. I'm a little nervous because William Shatner is, he's 94 years old. He appears to be extremely mentally sharp still. Like he seems, well, what he seems to be is the way he's always been in my experience. He was on Wait, Don't Tell Me once when I was on there, and I've seen many interviews with him, and he's sort of this guy who likes to answer every question kind of humorously, but it's humorous in the Bill Shatner version of humorous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think he's probably feels like he's helping the conversation along, but it's, if it were like we talk about the kind of conversational hacky sack, I've been now watching a lot of interviews with him the last couple of days, and he tends to spike the hacky sack. I don't think intentionally, but like you'll ask him a straightforward question about, what was it like playing James T. Kirk or whatever, or what was the impact that you think Star Trek might have had on the way we think about space or something. And he'll give you kind of a looping answer that has a bunch of kind of jokes in it and things that are not totally serious that kind of, as the interviewer, might throw you off, might throw me off. Like, I think it depends on the mood that William Shatner is in, how this interview is going to go today.
Yeah, I could see that. I think he's a man with I don't think either one of these men suffer from small egos, especially Shatner. Shatner has been known to be kind of spiky during interviews. You said you've been watching some interviews. Did you see that about a week ago he was on they were on the Colbert Show together? Yes. Okay, so that seems like that's some good prep possibly. Yes. Here's a question I would ask Shatner, in all seriousness. It actually might not be a very good question, but while I'm thinking about this, it would be interesting to know, because Shatner, you don't have to set it up this way. I'm not a big fan of Shatner, generally speaking, but I do remember after he went technically out into space on one of those sort of celebrity space programs, he came back. It was kind of endearing. Like he was truly, truly, truly moved by the experience, and I think that he saw it as a life-changing experience. It would be interesting to know, though, if he would still have an interest in space if his first show hadn't happened to be about space. Like, was he drawn to Star Trek because there was something in him that was drawn to that universe? Or if he had been in a 1960s show about computer hacking, would he be really into computers right now? Or, I don't know, something else?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I was going to ask him a version of that, about just like, if his association with Star Trek kind of kicked off his now lifelong interest in things like that, or if he was always sort of curious about it.
Don't put in the part about your friend not being a big fan of his. Well, you don't need that for context.
Listen, it's an old interviewing tactic. I've got to kind of get him on his back foot.
Sure,
so when he finds out that a friend of mine is not a big fan.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, I'll just keep going back to it. Here's how you kind of level set. You come out there, You set a bowling pin and
Yes.
a drum stand right on the table.
You're holding
just
a
set
bowling pin in your right hand.
You
and
set them
and
right
a
on
drum
the table
stand in your left hand.
and you make just intense
And you
eye
say,
contact.
Shatner, come out and play. And you're clinking 2 Coke bottles together.
There you go. Okay, so we're on the same page.
You have a matchstick in your mouth.
Sure.
You're bringing together a number of cinematic tropes. I mean, the thing about William Shatner is, like, sometimes when we're doing a Sunday morning interview, the nice thing is that most people who are being interviewed are pretty stoked that they're getting to be interviewed by CBS Sunday Morning. And so they really are doing their best to play along. They're trying to give thoughtful answers. They're trying to, like, they're excited about the experience, and they usually bring their A game.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that William Shatner is going to, I don't think the highlight of his day is going to be the fact that he finally has an opportunity to talk to CBS television. Like, and that kind of changes the dynamic. I don't think he's going to be annoyed about it, but this isn't a thrill for him.
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing that goes along with being William Shatner, and that goes along with having this traveling show that you're doing. And then on the Neil deGrasse Tyson front, he's just like, basically what I realized the other day is there's not enough time for me to learn everything about William Shatner's career, which has been pretty, between Star Trek and T.J. Hooker and Boston Legal. And
what
like,
if you only focused on T.J. Hooker questions?
What if I only focus on Boston Legal? He was nominated for 2 Emmys for Boston Legal, by the way.
I'm sure he'll tell you.
So it's like, it's too late for me to fully, because a lot of people who interview William Shatner are probably Trekkies or are like obsessed with him and know every single thing about his career. I know very little about his career comparatively. And then a lot of the people who interview Neil deGrasse Tyson probably are really into astronomy. They're like our friend Summer Ash.
Yeah.
They know a lot about it, and they can really kind of like talk about new and emerging theories and ask about, different galaxies and, Hubble telescopes and things like that. It's also too late for me to learn a bunch about astronomy. Like, this thing just dropped into my lap very recently. So I got to figure out, these are 2 people that are obviously very smart, or at least very confident. And one is very confident about his career as being William Shatner, and the other is very confident about knowing everything about how space and time works. And these are 2 topics that I'm pretty underinformed on. And so I don't know how I'm going to get through this exactly, but I don't know. I'm going to try. It's like, I basically feel like I can usually tap dance my way through these things just by being sort of trying to be likable and taking the approach of, I want this interview to work for somebody who just sat down on their couch on a Sunday morning and they don't have a ton of background on these people. That's who I'm usually thinking about, which is an excuse for me to ask underinformed questions. Mm-hmm. But these just seem like 2 guys that if I'm asking slightly underinformed questions, they're going to notice and they're going to get annoyed quickly.
Even Shatner, I know, again, that who was your former colleague? Didn't he get into a thing on Twitter or whatever? Or after an interview on NPR, didn't he get into a spat with with an NPR reporter that you used to work with? Is this ringing a bell to you at all? That's when
was that Andrea Seabrook?
I think it was Andrea. Now that you say that,
remember this.
That was the story that sort of shifted. I didn't really consider him much before.
I should call Andrea and say, what should I ask Bill?
Yeah, see what you get back.
Because what was it? She did an interview with him and he didn't like it or something, or.
I can't. I don't remember the details. We could probably look that up. But I was going to say, I do think to calm your nerves a little bit. Yeah. Not that I would be good at this, or not that I wouldn't be nervous going into this. But you and I are different people. But I do. This is salesmanship for both of these guys. They have something to sell. I think they're both going to be very much on their best behavior, and I don't think that they're going to like scoff or even internally scoff at any like kind of ill-informed questions. I think they just want to present the best version of themselves to sell this show that they're doing. So I actually do think that you're going to be. I think it's going to be a pretty safe environment, honestly. I think it's going to be pretty good. There's no other big story here that you're trying to, you were kind of talking about some other interviews you have to do where you have to think about, but how much is this promotion and how much of this is like you're kind of a controversial person. That doesn't really play into this so much. I think everybody's going to play nice. Also, you could just ask them both what happened before the Big Bang.
That, I'll tell you, Andrew, is a great question that's been posed on this show a lot lately. I think you're right. Look, that's the thing. They're both, I'm sure, more than happy to feather their own nest and promote this thing that they're doing because they're going to take it to LA next and stuff. So they're happy to be promoting this thing. But I would like the interview to somehow, I'd like the story eventually to transcend just William Shatner and Neil deGrasse Tyson are doing a barnstorming tour.
Sure.
Like they would, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to talk about that. But then I feel like I would like the story to be a little bit more interesting than
That's true, yeah. But I do think, but as far as though, like you feeling at all like, well, my questions are going to seem sophomoric to them or something, I just don't think that that's going to be the edge that they bring to this, probably.
Do I dare bring up Sabatage?
Sabotage the system.
Spock, sabotage the system.
Yeah, lead with that and then see how the tone goes.
I might not lead with it, but if somehow we're hitting it off and like things are feeling real loosey-goosey and we're at the end of the interview, I might ask him about that because that's some big TBTL lore. That's really honestly my main connection point to Bill Shatner is the word sabotage.
Now, but that would be a bit of an itchy issue though, right?
Yes.
Because isn't that tape about him kind of getting a little bit caustic on set?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I can't find the full tape. But yeah, basically, it's him recording. I think he was recording voiceover tracks for like some Star Trek game. It might even been like a CD-ROM.
Oh, that's why it was voiceover
time.
and not on set. That's interesting.
And he's saying, Spock, sabotage the system.
Okay.
And he's saying it multiple different times. And then the recording engineer corrects him and says, you're mispronouncing sabotage. And he says something to the effect of, you say sabotage. I say sabotage. And something to the effect of, don't correct me, it sickens me.
Well, that's definitely from Zoolander, I believe. That is a Zoolander line. I mean, I don't know what Shatner says. It would be amazing if Zoolander took that line verbatim from that, but Vives and I say that all the time because there's this shot of Ben Stiller. I almost brought this up earlier. He's literally squeezing a stress ball. We were talking about things that you squeeze earlier, and I was thinking about how stress balls were a big deal in the 90s, and I remember the scene from Zoolander where he's squeezing a stress ball, and he says, don't correct me. It sickens me.
I think, let's see. Okay, this is basically, I found a YouTube video that's like a series of different famous people getting mad. I'm looking at a freeze frame of Casey Kasem, and I'm guessing that it's Casey Kasem getting really mad about a little dog named Snuggles.
Yes.
So we're going to come out of that, but then the next one on the list is Bill Shatner sabotage. Let's just take a look.
Dog die!
Yeah, that's
mocking the person in the recording booth during a session for the Hayden Planetarium.
Maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut.
No, because if your mouth were open, you'd have popped some pills in them.
The full versions of these clips are easily found.
Why is the internet just so bad now, Andrew? Why can't we find anything?
Yeah, like the original.
Anything good. It's like somebody repurposing. I mean, this is the thing about the internet. It's like, it seems endless, but it's like actually 5 things.
Yeah.
You had like, William Shatner isn't out there making new tape of him yelling at a recording engineer. But if you were to Google it, you'd think so, because it's like everybody in the food chain has to go take their bite of this tape and then repackage it and repurpose it and then SEO it somehow. So that instead of me just getting the original tape, which of course I used to have at some point, I get some person who's made a new YouTube video where they're doing their voiceover of it, but because they've got the SEO really maximized on it, now they've got 8 million views of their just basically repurposing of a thing.
I have to say something here. I'm deeply, deeply embarrassed. I said Zoolander. I didn't mean Zoolander. I wasn't picturing Zoolander. I said Zoolander. I meant Mystery Men. Ben Stiller made both of those movies. He's in both of those movies, and he plays like Captain Angry or something in Mystery Men. Not, of course, Zoolander, where he plays a fashion model. My apologies to everybody.
Zoolander is I have seen Zoolander, but it's not. I know we're not talking about Zoolander. I know you're talking about Mystery Men.
Yeah.
But like the movie Zoolander is one of those ones that kind of, I watched it. I thought it was pretty funny, but it is a real cultural touchstone for a lot of people our age, whether it's Blue Steel or things like that. Like it's one of those ones that, and this is not me trying to be critical of it. It did not lodge itself in my brain in the way that it did for a lot of people my age for whatever reason.
I'm with you. Now, there are some scenes in it that are iconic that Vives and I will quote. I mean, like you say, Blue Steel became part of the culture, but I love Mystery Men. I love that movie. Zoolander has like all the hallmarks of a movie I would love that much, and other people do love that much, but for some reason I don't find it as funny, and I think the problem is I don't find, and again, I'm a huge fan of Ben Stiller, I don't find his Zoolander character all that funny. I think the funniest parts of that movie are the other parts, you know, the David Bowie of it all, and the other kind of very hilarious cameos and the
Will
random
Ferrell
cameos. Will Ferrell's
sort of
character,
fashion guy.
yeah, he's pretty funny in it. You know, when he says, "What is this, a school for ants?" They're like showing at the end of the movie, they're showing him a model of the school they want to build in his honor, and he says, "What is this, a school for ants?" I gotta admit, like lines like that do make me laugh, but generally speaking, I'm with you on it. Like it just doesn't quite click for me as much as, like, say, Mystery Men.
It's kind of like the Bart Simpson sort of situation, which is, I think Bart Simpson is the least interesting person on The Simpsons. But then again, maybe that creates the environment for all the other funny stuff to happen. You need this sort of titular character who's actually, you know, not as funny as everybody else, but that sets everybody else up to be funny or something. That's how I think of TBTL. I'm obviously the least popular of the two hosts of the show, but it allows you to shine in.
I mean, by a long shot, though. I mean, that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I'm going to start by telling William Shatner that my friend's not a big fan. How about Neil deGrasse Tyson? How can I neg him a little bit? Are you medium on his fashion choices? Is there anything about him you're not particularly keen on?
I got some words about his mustache.
Okay.
Let's talk about that a little bit there.
All right, that's good. That's a start. Yeah, I got to get both of them. I think we're talking to them separately and then together, and part of it is because I don't know if you watched the Colbert thing.
I did not. No, I was just Googling while you were talking about it. I didn't know about this.
The Colbert thing is hilarious because they made a real tactical error, the Colbert producers, which is they put William Shatner closer to Colbert, and then they put Neil deGrasse Tyson further away.
Yeah, does he ham it up a lot?
Neil deGrasse Tyson he is not able to get a word in edgewise because Shatner has turned his back to Neil.
Oh my God!
And is just talking to Colbert, and you can tell Colbert is like really trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah,
because and Neil deGrasse Tyson just looks like he wants to take out a cigarette and start smoking it or something.
Yeah,
he's so X'd out of the conversation, and to the point where Colbert ends up making a whole joke out of it eventually. Like he has to, because they have to address the fact that Neil deGrasse Tyson is not getting to say anything in this interview because William Shatner is William Shatner, and he's 94 years old. He gives 0 Fs, and he likes the attention, and he's just going and going and going and going. So I think we're going to interview them separately to avoid that, and then together for
and
a
then
little
bring
bit.
them together, and then find out who is lying.
Exactly. So we're going to get there. The whole thing is you got to lock each one of them into a story. This is something I learned from John Cobretti. You got to lock each person into their story, and then when those stories don't align, now you've got them.
It's the prisoner's dilemma. I love the idea of you putting one of them in an ISO chamber. Like you can see them. You're all in the same room together.
Yeah.
But while you're interviewing Shatner, Neil deGrasse Tyson is in this isolation chamber, and you can sort of see him, but he can't hear anything that's being said.
Is there a two-way mirror?
That's interesting. No, I think
a one-way mirror or a two-way mirror?
I don't think mirrors are involved. I think it looks like a submersible from like a sci-fi book from the 1940s or something, but it's got like a glass pane in there around eye level or around face level, and so that you can see his like you say, like he can't hear anything, so he's just in there playing solitaire or something like that, but then they have to switch places, and then you catch them all in lies.
I do want to find out how this guy is doing what he's doing at age 94. Like, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
like,
certainly.
I did not see that. Is it just being professionally a testy person for your whole life? Does that keep you young at heart? Like it's crazy to me that he is, of all the people, well, you got 2 people from that show, from Star Trek, that are still alive, and it's George Takei and William Shatner, and they apparently deeply dislike each other, but they're also both weirdly sort of healthy for being in their 90s.
Yeah.
Like George Takei is really, I think he might have just turned 90, and he's doing great as well. They play a lot of tape of him on the Howard Stern show. That's how I keep track of George.
Oh, and they have somebody who does an imitation of him as well, right?
They do, yeah. And then they also have the real George Takei on sometimes as well. But he's doing great, and Shatner is doing great in terms of the health thing. I don't know if it was that time in space. Did it like do something for him?
Does he have the space bug? Ooh, I did just read a sci-fi novel about people who go to space and then come back with a space bug that ends up basically destroying humanity. You could ask about that. I'll send you some notes.
Okay.
I do want to know if he came back with a space bug.
I'll ask him that.
That would actually be kind of funny.
Hey, my friend who doesn't like you very much, he wants to know if you came back with a space bug.
Dude.
I'm feeling a lot better about
If the interview does not go well, If the interview does not go well, how much would I have to pay you to say that exactly how you said it at the end? And no, I guess that's a career killer. Hey, my buddy who doesn't like you very much wants to know.
I already walked off the black carpet during Metallica. I just don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much more I can damage my reputation with the television community.
How many producers can you ostracize?
Yeah, this is the same producer as Metallica, so I need to be on my best behavior.
All right, we'll let that one go. I was no help on this one, but it'll be good. I think I have a feeling is you're going to be here tomorrow after all of this. You're going to be doing the show from my studio, and my guess is and this is, I don't know, I'm not trying to set you up for disappointment, but I think you're going to be somewhat euphoric tomorrow. I think it's going to go really well, and I think you're going to be feeling good when I see you tomorrow.
I love that positivity, and I really hope you're right. And by the way, yesterday at the end of the show, I said, "Go Mariners," and it did not jinx them. So maybe you saying that the interview is going to go well is not a jinx.
Yeah, it's not a jinx. Maybe you should say, "Go Mariners" again today.
I will. I'm going to say it right after I say all of this, which is, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We will be back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. I will be at Andrew's house, which is always a fun time.
I got a vacuum
to get to be in IRL. Is that what they call it? IRL.
Yes, sir.
So please do join us for that. In the meantime, everybody have a great Wednesday. I might see some of you at this Shatner thing tonight. So if this seems like a thing that some 10s might attend. So if I see you there, say hi, will you? And in the meantime, please remember, no mountain too tall. Also, go Mariners.
Yes.
And no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.